5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thunderbirds are go.
Hello, everybody listening, which is probably no one because this is the first episode, to In One's Kin, a weekly podcast where 4 people from all around the world get together and talk about a topic chosen round-robin style about something that has affected our life. This will be a pop culture focus, anything from movies, video games, to books. I am joined today by my 3 co-hosts. Robert. Say hello, Robert.
Hello, Robert.
Veet.
Hello, hello.
And Ricky.
Hello, Robert.
Hi, Ricky.
So, guys, this is it. We finally did a thing.
We're doing a thing, at least.
What happens when you can't raid?
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Blizzard.
Yeah, this is our raid. We're raiding the internet.
Yep. Our podcast is replacing us raiding. That's sad. Rip. Wow. So how are you guys doing? How's it been? What have you guys been up to? If you haven't watched the Deadpool movie, you suck.
Yep, so I suck.
You suck.
You do suck.
I haven't seen Force Awakens either, so.
Really?
And I still haven't been spoiled on it, so that's pretty cool.
Wow.
Wait.
We should totally have Star Wars as the next subject so we could spoil him and put him on a timer.
There you go. Yep. No, look, I listened to my first podcast in 2011, and I've been devouring podcasts ever since, and I've told myself that one day I'm going to do this. Going to be part and make my own podcast, and look at that, I'm doing it. So I'm stoked to be here. I really am.
Feels good, man. Like, seriously, you guys don't understand. Like, if you knew Veet, he's been like a child at Christmas. Like, I've never seen him so excited. It's awesome. I haven't really listened to much podcasts. I don't know why. I guess I kind of do if you count YouTube videos of people just talking. I guess that kind of counts. But I've always wanted to do one, though, because I've always loved radio, and this is a very close format to radio. So, yeah, I'm all for this.
I'm pretty happy to be doing this, too. I enjoy listening to podcasts while I'm doing other things. So, if we can just add one more thing for people to listen to out there while they're doing whatever the heck it is that they do with their day, then that's an excellent thing to do.
Yep, there's not enough podcasts. It's like in the 90s, there weren't enough .coms. At least when this bubble bursts, the only thing that happens is no one listens to us.
That's, yeah. It's an interesting way of looking at it. I completely agree. Yeah, so if you are listening, thank you so much. That's awesome. And for everyone who's not listening, thank you for existing.
Good job, you. Self-actualize. Oh, man. Okay, so things that are happening that we will probably end up talking about. I am super excited for the fact that Pokemon got trademarked, apparently, in the EU. Sun and Moon. Super hyped.
I'm going to watch my first Nintendo Direct tomorrow because of this.
Yep.
Watch it. Announcing it.
Yep. If you're listening to this, it's too late. You missed the Nintendo Direct.
Oh, that's true. We are at a little bit delayed. We record on Thursdays, ideally, and we will be posting on Mondays. Yeah, we should probably introduce ourselves. We kind of skipped over that part.
Yep. Sorry.
Who we are, what we're interested in, and all that stuff. You're a great host.
Okay, so I guess let's introduce ourselves. I'm James. I don't know. I guess I'm the guy that sits here and listens to 3 intelligent people talk about cool subjects. That's about all I can contribute, and maybe like do a little editing.
I'm Robert. I'm a professor at a local college, and I spend all my time drawing pictures and playing video games and keeping up with politics and being generally insane. I don't know. I have a feeling that I'm going to be the cynical downer of the group. That's just me. It'll be fun, though.
Robert Downer Jr.
No.
God. He went there. It's over. Everyone just turned it off.
Go home, everyone.
Okay, I'm Veet. I'm the old man of the group. I'm also a registered nurse by profession. I have my interests and loves, a lot of pop culture, a lot of nerdy stuff. I'm not one of these people that gets into the minutia of or the detail of the things. I just know what I like and I love, and I get passionate about it. That's me.
This was also his idea.
So you're an emotionalist. You're not
Yes.
you're not a romantist. You're an emotionalist.
No, yeah, I'm just not one for. I'm not one for detail. Yeah, I'm not going to argue whether it's a P7 rifle or a P8 rifle.
I guess that would
It's a
be
P9.
romanticism. I guess that would
Right.
be romantic. You're
Yes.
caught up in the idea of the emotion.
Right.
That's perfectly fine. I guess Robert would be our elitist jerk.
I probably will be.
And I'm Ricky. I'm a guitarist by trade and a video game player by hobby. That's all I know. I know nothing about politics or books or movies because that stuff is. I don't have time for that stuff. Basically,
Taking him along for the ride.
Ain't nobody got time for that. Oh
Yep.
no!
Yes, they
Already memeing it. Oh, we're already dank.
It's all your fault too.
Yep. See, it's funny. Like, you guys are all like, I'm a nurse, I'm a professor. I'm like, this is probably the most I'll ever do with my degree. Yay. Thanks, collapsing career field.
We'll be honored guests at like a convention or something. You'll see.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
we'll have to get Vita green card though.
I'll know I've made it when I'm able to do a podcast with you guys from BlizzCon.
That
that's.
actually circumstances have set it up such that BlizzCon is the only convention I'm even eyeballing this year. Like, there's a bunch that I used to go to. Circumstances are keeping me out of Emerald City, which is the local one in Seattle, and San Diego, which I typically make a habit of going to. So now I'm seriously going, I should probably get myself down to the BlizzCon.
Yeah, the cons around here, because I live in the South, are terrible. It's the only difference between a con and a day that's not a con is that the hobos wear costumes.
Well, TwitchCon here is gonna be like a 15-minute drive for me, so I might as well go. Even though I don't
Jerk.
watch that many large Twitch.
Wait, you're going to who are you going to talk to? Like, what's
Exactly,
your
but it's like
what's
it's
your
like
faux
so close.
celebrity?
I just want to show up, be like, hey, can I get a hoodie? No, all right, I'm out of here.
Yeah, get me a Twitch Plays Pokemon t-shirt.
Get me a Crip. Get me a shirt signed by Crip.
Yeah, I think Crip is like the only like Twitch streamer that has like a sub button that I watch on a regular basis. Like everyone else is just kind of like small streamers that don't go to TwitchCon at all. So yeah, I'll just show up and be like, "Can I get a bunch of cool stuff?" All right, cool, I'm out. Thanks.
That's
And
what
living
it's
in a
all about.
country where we basically only have one convention a year, you guys can suck it.
What's next event?
So wait, do you reach your convention all Mad Max style, just a giant convoy tearing across the desert?
There are no deserts in
we,
New
we
Zealand.
just basically have one convention franchise in New Zealand. It's Armageddon, and they do a reasonable job, I have to admit, considering how difficult it is to get people to hop in a plane for a minimum of 14 to 17 hours to get here and show some interest in being here, and severely jet lagged at the same time.
They are the most dedicated.
Yes.
I would think being Middle Earth, you could lure more people over.
Well, and they have been actually getting, obviously because of the location, focusing on sort of Peter Jackson's and Weta Studio type productions, and using that to sort of get using the convention to market their products. And I've sat at a question answer by the dwarves from The Hobbit and that sort of thing. So yeah,
Well, that's cool.
they do a reasonable job.
Speaking of Weta actually is going to be somewhat involved in our topic today.
Yes, they are. Speaking of which,
We should probably do the point of the podcast.
Yep, I guess. So today our topic holder, the hot seat person, is Veet. Veet, what are we going to be learning about today?
okay, so let me read from the wiki for the Thunderbirds. Now, I'll give you a couple paragraphs just to sum it up, okay? And then we'll go on to my experience. Set between 2065 and 2067, Thunderbirds follows the exploits of the Tracy family, headed by American ex-astronaut turned multi-millionaire philanthropist Jeff Tracy. He's a widower with 5 adult sons, Scott, John, Virgil, Gordon, and Alan. Tracy's form International Rescue, a secret organization dedicated to saving human life. They are aided in this mission by technology-advanced land, sea, air, and space vehicles, which are called into service when conventional rescue techniques prove ineffective. The most important of these are 5 machines called the Thunderbirds, each assigned to one of the 5 Tracy brothers. With the engineer brains and Jeff's elderly mother, as well as the Malaysian manservant Kirano and his daughter Tintin, the family reside in a luxurious villa on Tracy Island, the hidden base in the South Pacific Ocean. In this location, IR is safe from criminals and spies who envy the organization's technology and seek to acquire the secrets of its machines. So this was made in 1965 and 1966, produced for 2 seasons, 32 episodes. I first came across it as I want to say an 8 or 9-year-old boy, maybe a touch younger. So that would put me... So the show would have been around for about 10 years already. It was already, by that stage, while it was known, it was already off the radar a bit. And by that I mean it was shown at 6:30 in the morning and 6:30 on Saturday morning, half an hour before the Saturday morning cartoons officially started at 7:8. So this was like the warm-up to Saturday morning cartoons. It wasn't a cartoon. It was a live-action, what do they call it?
Super Mario Nation.
Super Mario Nation.
Super Mario Nation.
Hey, Super Mario. So let's put it in context. My father used to get up at 6 o'clock on a Saturday morning to get ready for work. That would be enough to wake me up, and I would sit in bed, wait until I heard him back the car out of the drive. So when you hear that whining, the reversing vehicle whine as it heads down the driveway, I would bolt out of bed, flick on the television, and be up in time for the Thunderbirds.
So the car was like your alarm clock.
Well, it was my dad getting up was the alarm clock, but the ability for me to actually get out of bed without having to answer questions as to why I was out of bed so early was waiting for the reversing of the vehicle down the driveway.
It was
that was
the
my
all
next
clear.
question. I was like, "Are you scared of your father?"
Well, let's put it this way, okay?
Oh, no.
So, my father was a curmudgeon, put it politely. He didn't believe in science fiction and fantasy, thought it was a waste of time. He didn't believe in toys. My sisters and I grew up with very few toys because he was very frivolous and thought it was a waste of time and money. The only toys I grew up with were toys that we were either given by other family members at Christmas or birthdays, or the odd toy my mother would sneak into the house, and we were only allowed to play with them when Dad wasn't home. That says volumes alone, okay?
Man, he was like a Quaker.
So
what did he do for fun or for leisure? Like, did he
whittle wood for like killing snakes?
What the hell? My dad worked. My dad was a bricklayer and worked 6, sometimes 7 days. He was from a small farming village in southern Italy, so gardening was his outlet. There was, I didn't expect to be talking about this, but my father basically is now, and will always be a farmer at heart. So even in a suburban quarter-acre block, he turned that thing into a farm. We had chickens. We had the most tremendous veggie garden you could ever imagine. We didn't have a tree on the property unless it produced something. There was no ornamental anything.
So
very utilitarian person.
Right. We had plum trees, fig trees, peach trees. The tree had to serve a purpose.
Wow.
Right.
So your dad was the dad from Mary Poppins.
Okay. Sure. Okay. That's one way of describing it.
Yeah, but this also. So Thunderbirds was like, oh my god, it's different.
Yeah, it's like
Thunderbirds,
mind blowing.
I tell you what. Okay. They were my toys. Okay, because unlike cartoons, these were puppets on a live set, created set. These were my action figures come to life. Okay, because I would go to school and I'd be jealous of the kids that came to school with their action figures, their GI Joes and their helicopters and aeroplanes and whatever else they turned up with. Right. I had the Thunderbirds.
Oh man.
Action figures that would suit up, jump into their vehicles, space vehicles, and shoot off to save the day, right? Add to that a fabulous, still I reckon one of the best title tracks of any show ever created, and great score and music. Okay.
So the fact they were toys come to life was a big appeal to you. Like if they were like animated or something, you wouldn't be like as attracted to them.
I love my cartoons. I love my Saturday morning cartoons, and when we continue on down the track with this podcast, I'll be going on about my love of animation and Looney Tunes and all that sort of thing. Loved all that, but this was different. These were my toys come to life. This was like I could see this happening. You know, it was more than just, I could pick up like if I had a G.I. Joe, I'd pick him up and zoom him around the room. But watching on TV, I had smoke, I had fire, I had sweat dripping down the brow. I had, all that sort of thing that you saw. This was the ultimate in recreating action scenes that I had built up in my head.
Even when they use baby crocodiles as giant ones.
Yeah, all of it. All those things, right? So and I look at them now, okay? Because my wife bought me the Thunderbirds 50-year DVD series, all 32 episodes.
Awesome.
And I've sat down and watched them here and there in piecemeal. And to be honest, as a 46-year-old, I'm struggling a little bit to get through them, right?
Yeah, we could talk about that too, because that's a lot of my personal observation. Because I've never disliked Thunderbirds, but man, going through it, especially like refreshing myself for this now, I'm just like, oh yeah,
oh man,
right. How many times do we need to see this scene of this craft, this aeroplane going across the sky?
As often as they do Sailor Moon transformations, man.
That's like me. I'm like, oh man, when I was a kid, I watched Big Bad Beetleborgs, and now I look at it, I'm like, I had brain damage.
Exactly. Now it still holds appeal. Like I said, the title track, the sound, I can't help myself. I'm always there every time going 5, 4, 3,
That's awesome.
2, 1. Thunderbirds are go. I do it every time. My daughter sits here and watches and looks at me and laughs at me with true love that I get so caught up in this thing.
I didn't realize
they are now difficult to sit through.
Oh man, I just realized.
Yep.
Our first episode, I didn't know it was going to be this dense. That our first host was going to describe what it would be like when he pretended what he would do if he owned a G.I. Joe. I would zoom it around the room. I would do all these things. This is what I pretend to do if I had it. Man, that's
I would
dense.
pretend it's my toy.
There you go.
I used to
setting it on fire.
I used to have a rock, and I would pretend it was a G.I. Joe. It's like, oh, damn.
It was never that bad.
I know. I know.
I never had the toys that all the cool.
Yeah,
No,
I understand.
that's the thing.
I never had a toy that was complete. All my toys came from the thrift store and were like 15 cents. So I had Ninja Turtles with no shells, like missing arms. I would take them home and fix them. So I understand.
God, you guys are making me feel like a jerk. I was loaded in toys.
Yeah, well, some of us had it, and some of us didn't. Now,
Hey, it's fine. That's what makes us great. So like, because I watched some of this to get ready for it, and
yeah,
the one thing it just screamed at me is like, this is so Cold War. It's astonishing. I've never seen anything that epitomizes the Cold War era like this show. Like, you have all these puppets. You have all these puppets and stuff that belie the severity of the situations that they're in. It epitomizes America at that time, or just the general worldview, not just America because it's a British show, but like the general tone of what was going on. It's like, oh yeah, we got this thing, let's watch this, but behind it, there's like this really serious thing that's going on.
Right. It's made in 1965. Yes, it's a British production, but they made it specifically to try and sell it in the American market. Now, they never did at the time. They failed, which is why they only ever made two series. But that's why all the characters, it's an American family. They all have American accents.
They're astronauts.
They're astronauts.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, it's 1965. The sons are named after the Mercury 7 astronauts. So they're pitching this big time at an American market. Cold War is huge. Right? Big deal.
You're worried about,
now,
Soviet Union stealing your technologies.
Right, exactly. Now, the bad guys are Asians.
Oh, yeah.
Sort of it's an easy target, I guess. Sort of heading into the Vietnam War and so forth. At the time, it was huge in Britain, Australia, New Zealand, Japan even. Apparently, it really took off in Japan. I would have loved to hear it in Japanese, dubbed in Japanese. But it never took off in the States. Eventually, they got it there later on with some severe editing. I think they cut down these 30-minute episodes into like 14, 15-minute episodes to try and sort of fill in spots on cable network channels.
Weird.
Yeah.
So the episodes
my dad used to watch it.
So the format, the show was an hour long, right? Originally?
Yes, they are an hour long. And then but with scheduling and so forth, a lot of them were cut into 30-minute episodes. Like literally cut in half, and it would be like part 1, part 2 of the same story. You have to come back the next day to see the second half of that episode. It was basically because it was an hour long in what they wanted it to be appeal to adult. When they made it, they wanted it to appeal to adult and children, except predominantly the only markets that would take them was for the children's market, and they only wanted 30-minute episodes. So a lot of them were forced to cut them in half.
So
basically that's exactly how that's how my dad got introduced to it, was as a 30-minute serial, and it was a two-part. Every episode was a two-parter, and kind of like in the same way that the Batman series of the time was a two-parter. And he was really into it because he loved the designs. My dad's a big tech junkie, so much so that he actually wound up on nuclear submarines as a nuclear machinist mate. And I probably know a little too much about submarines, but he was just so into the machinery of it all and the mechanicalness, and even still to this day, as a man in his near, gosh, 60s. Yeah, he's almost 60. He still watches it when it's on TV. Like every now and then they showed a movie.
And it does have that appeal to that generation. I want to say a current day generation, like 40 to 60. 40s to 60s, maybe a little bit older, that sort of thing. Because it was different, ahead of its time in technology and production.
Yeah, it's very non-traditional.
Very non-traditional. There were a couple similar type productions that led up to it. Not as successful as this ever was.
Stingray and others.
Yes. So it developed a genuine cult following, right? So yes, it only showed at 6:30 in the morning, but people knew what you were talking about when you mentioned the Thunderbirds, right? Even though they probably stopped watching it eons ago. They still knew how the title sequence went. They knew basically what Thunderbird 1, 2, and 3 did. And I'll declare now I'm a Thunderbird 2 fan. That was my vehicle of choice. Whenever that came on, I was transfixed and wondering what would come out of that capsule. Because Thunderbird 2 was like the aircraft carrier, the C-130 of its day that would come around and carry around the specialized equipment that was needed for whatever the drama was for that episode.
It's the big green thing that has no business flying.
Yep,
exactly.
It crawls along the ground, and then they have to prop it up. All the trees have to move out of the way.
And it takes off from a dead start. Now, how the hell did that could possibly happen physically?
Rockets, man. Even though it would flip end over end like a beetle.
There's no way that thing deserved to fly.
Stealth bomb or something.
Oh god, it's the most funny looking thing in the world. I mean, you're right. It's awesome that it just drops these huge pods down and just awesome stuff comes out of it. But it is just a big green giant tub that flies.
Yeah.
It has no business being in the air. And also, as just an aside, like you mentioned, like your favorite vehicles, it's kind of funny that some of the items that it dropped, like there was the rocket powered mole machine and stuff, actually got more airtime than Thunderbird 4, which was the aquatic vehicle. No one gave a damn about the aquatic vehicle.
Yep, that's true.
It's hard to shoot underwater.
The submarine was an actual Thunderbird and probably got the least amount of time. There other bits of equipment got more time than Thunderbird.
So Thunderbird 4 was only underwater? Like, it had...
Yes.
Okay.
It was literally a yellow submarine.
Yellow submarine. And
but no one lived in
it. It had to be delivered there by Thunderbird 2. So it only turned up if it was a water-based episode, yep.
Yep, and working with these props and stuff in these environments, that it would be hard to do water. So that's probably why they did it the least.
Probably. You're probably right, too.
Although in a strange inversion, his pilot, Gordon, got a ton of airtime in relation to the vehicle. Like, the vehicle was never used, but his character kept growing. Like, they're like, okay, now you're going to be the best marksman, now you're going to do this, you're going to do that, you're going to do all these other things because we need you. And that's also hilarious because John Tracy, who is on Thunderbird 5, up in space doing the relay for all the information. Thunderbird 5 is a space station. John Tracy is literally like, no one cares about this guy. He is never in the show. And apparently that was because the creators of the show hated his puppet. So they were like, oh god, this guy's supposed to be a main character, but never have him on the air. In fact, that even went to the point where the one episode where Thunderbird 5 does more than just relay the mission of the week, John Tracy, who is on Thunderbird 5, actually gets relieved from duty.
Yes. Yes. So, because it was technically John and Alan who used to rotate their time up at the space station.
Yeah, and so Alan comes in and takes over
Yep.
for Thunderbird 5 on the one episode where Thunderbird 5 is actually going to be important.
Yes, exactly.
You gotta love the Thunderbird 5. Just to sit in space, mainly as an icon to show that we're the ones in space.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of that you can alliterate from just the
Drink
placement of things
wine
how
and
they're-
listen in on foreign countries.
Damn right. Also, what's that car? The pink Rolls Royce, Fab One.
Fab
That
One.
cracks me up.
Yes.
Spy cars.
And that was the comic relief, right? Because you had Lady Penelope and Parker.
Lady Penelope,
With
I don't know, like the episode I watched. So I watched the first episode. She sounded like a woman who had she was numb to all life, like the way she talked. Like, oh dear, let us go.
Right.
She's a spy.
But she was portrayed as the aristocracy, and that's the way it's
Very uncaring.
Yes, unfortunately. So, but and everybody loved Parker. You know, he was the apparently he's an ex-con, roustabout, could hold his own in a brawl or a fight. But he played along as the butler and chauffeur for Lady Penelope.
And amusingly enough, I mean, we haven't gotten to it yet, but in the Thunderbirds reboot that is currently ongoing, and I actually would like to see, he is voiced by the same actor as his original series, Puppet.
Yes, it is. Yep, he's the only actor that was able to be carried over. The other ones have gone to the big Thunderbird stations in the sky.
Yep.
So before we get on to the new series, there is one other thing I want to talk about. In the mid-90s, so like I said, the legacy and the cult following for this show continues, particularly, like I said, UK, Australia, New Zealand. In the mid-90s, two British actors created a stage show.
Oh man.
They mimed, but it wasn't, they mimed to a episode of Thunderbirds. Okay? So, they would go on stage. They would prance around, they would move around, they would mimic the puppet movements of the characters. So, whoever they were playing at the time, they would move around like the marionettes. Arms would swing around first, then the body and the head would follow later. You know?
Oh, wow.
Thing.
Holy
And this was
crap.
done with
It was
the audio from the show.
the audio from the show. So they just mimed it. Then they would, for the particular vehicles, they would have hats that were made as Thunderbird 1, Thunderbird 2, and they would mount these on his head. And if you go to the show notes, you'll see the YouTube clip of it. You'll get a visual idea of what they were doing. It was a laugh. It was a loving tribute, but it was done in good fun, done in good taste. So this is 1995. The show comes to Australia, where I'm in Brisbane, Australia at the time. Claire, I've been thinking back, and I can't remember if we were engaged at the time or whether we were just living together. I got 2 tickets and I took her to see the show. Now, I guffawed, like I was just in hysterics. I'm just like guffawing. I think it's hilarious. She's punching me in the arm, going, "Keep it down! Don't laugh so quickly, so loudly." She's getting embarrassed by how
People are looking.
how into this I am. Right? I should have known then. I know now, but I should have known then that she was a keeper, because she saw me at my nerdiest and at my...
And she didn't pants you.
Well, that's true. But she saw me at my nerdiest and at my most what's the word I'm looking for?
Vulnerable.
Yes, vulnerable, and so engrossed in this nerd culture, this cult sort of thing, that she just didn't throw her hands up in the air and go, "I'm out, I'm done, I'm not putting up with this," sort of thing, you know. It was that and Hudsucker Proxy. First movie we ever went to together was Hudsucker Proxy, and she turned around to me at the end of the movie and she said to me, "What the hell was that?" But to her credit, she didn't throw her hands up and say, "I'm out, I'm done, I'm not putting up with this nonsense." She saw me for who I am, and she stuck with me. So I have a keeper there.
Hashtag relationship goals.
There
Did she
you go.
know you were into Thunderbirds, or is that her
Like,
you into Thunderbirds?
no, not to that degree. Like I said, even like, yes, she watched it every so often as a kid. If you asked her what the Thunderbirds was, she could give you the countdown and Thunderbirds a go. So, like mostly everybody of our age, she was aware of it, right? Yes, she watched. I'm sure she watched episodes here and there, but she was not. She obviously didn't have the same emotional connect that I did to the show, which is why when this stage show came, I just had to go.
And now she's a cross mage.
Right, now she's all sorts of things. Now she's into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and she's all into World of Warcraft, and she has her nerdy, geeky outlay. So now that leads us to today, right? Today, in 2015, 50-year anniversary, a co-production between ITV, who owns the rights for the Thunderbirds in the UK, and Pukeko Studios in New Zealand, co-produced this program. Now, Pukeko work in conjunction with Weta, and they recreated this series. Now, the difference is they didn't reboot it. They didn't start it from afresh. They basically carry the story on. So they pick up the story now. Jeff Tracy has supposedly died in a aircraft crash. There is no body found.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. So there's suspicion around what's happened. How did he die? Was the Hood involved? And the Hood is the main bad guy in both series. And so the sons are left to continue on with international rescue.
I just want to point out that he mentally blocked out the live action film in his timeline.
Oh man.
So, yeah. Oh, yes. The live action. Shall we go back to the live action?
Like the stage show?
No. In 2004.
Is that the movie with Tim Allen?
Yes.
Good God.
Tim Curry is in it.
No.
Also,
some of the bald ones.
And it's directed by Jonathan Frakes, who played Riker on Star Trek Next Generation.
What?
So the pedigree was there, right?
I guess.
This is something that should go well and doesn't.
Yes, absolutely. So they announced they're making the film in 2004. It's released. I don't know where I was. I don't know if Claire was even with me on that day.
Man, you're repressing it.
She wasn't. I had a feeling she wasn't. And it was so-so. It really, I had this I envisioned this Thunderbirds franchise on the big screen. And it was just so-so. It just did not capture the emotion, the enthusiasm, it was all there. The music was there. It
lacked a certain fear of communism.
Did you think that was because you outgrew the Thunderbirds, or did like the material change so much that you couldn't? connect with it anymore.
It's live
It's not
action.
faithful.
As in, it's like live actors on screen. Just
Yes.
Although I don't think that actually matters.
Yeah.
I just think the major problem is it's a vast departure from the themes and the magic is just not there. Like I said,
that's it.
It derails itself at some point. It's kind of hard to pin down exactly where, but like the characters aren't really the characters that they're supposed to be. The ships are probably too faithful to the original designs, oddly enough. I mean, you can make an argument. You can make an argument that the ships are characters unto themselves.
Yes, they are.
Kind of in the same argument with Transformers. Like, no matter what you think of those films, they actually did do tests of the robots looking much more like their Gen 1 cartoon and configurations, and it just didn't look very good on film, which is why they went with the "oh my god, what the hell am I looking at" robots, which arguably is the better way to go because cinematically it looks more realistic, and that matters if you're going to have real people. And you have all these real people, and yet they're running around with these models that look very much like 1960s designs, and it feels like it. And there's absolutely no apology whatsoever for the designs of these ships, which is both cool, but at the same time probably not the right direction to go in.
oh man, this movie had Sir Ben Kingsley as the Hood.
Oh,
yes, it does.
I said it has the pedigree. It's all there. It should have worked. They did not capture the magic. Maybe because it was an American production. Maybe if it was a British production. And no, I honestly believe that. I think if it was a British production, they may have captured some of that original magic.
Well, you're probably right. There is a very different outlook on things. I mean, the humor is not quite the same.
Yeah.
There is one thing I do want to point out for that movie that I have to love and respect, which is if you rewind all the way back to the original series, the puppets are puppets, and the puppets can't really do everything you need them to do. So anytime it's like we need to have a shot of opening a door or picking up a phone or anything like that,
it's a real person.
A real human hand doing this. Now, in the live action movie, there is a scene where they cut away to a puppet hand opening a door.
Yep.
I like that though.
Well,
I don't know. I think the shot where you have to do intricate things and showing some disembodied hand doing it, I think that's endearing. Like, they're doing their best.
Yeah. True.
Well, there's all things. Just. But anyways, so the movie exists. Like that's
the movie exists, and my hopes for a Thunderbirds franchise never happened.
My dad was.
Yeah. So who knows? Maybe in 10 years' time, they may have another go, and it might work. But that was the movie. It sort of came and went, and that was that. So back onto the current series. So it's live model sets, CGI. Animation over the top. So all the characters are CGI created over the top of these beautifully made Weta sets.
And it's sexy as hell. It is so awesome.
They are stunning. They are truly stunning. Even the what they've done with the 5 Thunderbirds, they've modernized them. They look great. So, like I said, go back to the story. Dad's missing, but they don't have a body. The sons don't seem too concerned. They're just getting on with the day-to-day running of international rescue. Now, with all their money and all their resources, you'd think they'd go and investigate and try and find out what happened to dear old Pop. And they're just going, so yes, Dad's disappeared, died and disappeared. We think. It's a bit peculiar. That's the only criticism I have with the story. Otherwise, I'm fine that the fact that they continued on with the story, they didn't go back and start from the beginning. Though, having said that, a couple of the episodes are straight rip-offs of previous stories told.
Fire Flash.
Right. They're just straight rip-offs. They're basically retelling the same old story.
Although, can I say that the remake of the Fire Flash in this new series is greatly disappointing compared to the very awesome model that they made for the original series. Like, if you're listening to the podcast, seriously, look up the Fire Flash and tell me that that is not just a beautiful piece of equipment.
It is. Right. I agree with you. But I think it's very difficult coming to something 50 years later where so they've got a problem, right? They've got all this nostalgia related to it, and all the people who I've seen and read about it had this nostalgia have a hard time accepting the new show. Right? But they've also got to make this and sell this, and they've made it for a kids market, right? Now, in the UK it's showed in a kids time slot. Funnily enough, in New Zealand, it's been shown on a 6:00 Sunday night, so it's still family time. And I'm sure a number of people like myself drag their children, i.e., their daughter, to sit in front of them. You go, "You got to watch this. This is what I watched as a kid. It was fabulous." Okay, and yes, she likes it. I mean, she's 16. She's probably a little too old. If she was 10, 12, she may have got it really hooked into it. As a 16-year-old, it's probably she's a little too old to get wrapped up in it like I did when I was a kid. But she's a fan of animation and 3D CGI, so she appreciates it from that perspective. But she isn't hooked onto it like I am, understandably. But this is aimed at a kids market, obviously with the toy market in mind as well, right?
Of course.
So the storytelling is a little simple. It doesn't have the depth I was hoping.
Yeah, that's actually one of the things I would give credit to the original series for. Is at the time, of course, this is always the caveat, but it really was all ages entertainment. Like the episodes are actually rather sophisticated in their themology and what's going on. It's rather adult, and yet at the same time, kids can be like, "Ooh, Thunderbird 2, how does it fly?" You know?
Right. And yes, and I think so. Yeah, I saw the first couple episodes. I was disappointed. I didn't. Visually, it was spectacular, but it didn't hold the same emotional nostalgia. I've come around from it since, because I understand the way they're going to make money and the way this show is going to survive and continue is if it attracts a new audience. And so they've specifically gone for the kids Saturday morning type market and the kids toy market. Because you can see, you look at the new series and you can just see all this lineup of action figures and all 5 Thunderbirds all lined up at Toys R Us and etc.
There's 6 now, technically.
So it doesn't have that
6,
thing where
you're right.
So it doesn't have that thing where it's like Disney, where it's mostly for kids, but has like a little something for the adults too to like pick up on. Like it doesn't have that factor in as well. Like it's just all for kids. Like there's no thing that like adults can latch onto.
Not in my opinion, not in the storyline.
So they don't even like try to appeal even a little bit to like old Thunderbird fans that are from the 60s.
They're doing that by the visual creation of it,
right?
And the sound, the music. The music's all there. The visually it looks like Thunderbirds. There's no mistaking it.
The aesthetic is where they're trying to get you.
Right. They expect that dad's going to sit down with their 18-year-old son and go, this is the Tracy Island in the middle of nowhere. Nobody knows where this island is, and this is Thunderbird 1, and this is what Thunderbird 1 does. That sort of thing.
But that's funny. It's funny because there's a dissonance there because, as you said, nobody knows where Tracy Island is. Like, but clearly in this new realized version of the Thunderbirds future, it's obvious that
it's gotta
the
be
technology
somewhere.
would exist, that they could find it. Well, because keep in mind, in the 1960s, when they made Thunderbirds, it was like, well, no one knows where this island is. That made sense, right? That's a future. It's like, what, 22? No, it's 2060 something?
Yes, 2065.
In the original series.
Oh man,
and
what?
yeah, but mind you, this is a future. This is a future that is like 50 years from now, where there is no internet, there are no cell phones, there's no text messaging, there's the
True.
satellites
man.
are rare.
Even
Um,
though,
y-
even though we had like airborne radar in like World War II.
yeah, but most people didn't know that. But it's literally the dissonance is hilarious because you come up to this new series which I've been
It's a
looking into. Like, I really want to
pre-nuclear
watch this
world.
now.
It's a pre-nuclear world.
It's a pre-nuclear world playing on today's rules. Like even the technology is just like super up as far as its capability and what is presented. There are robot assistants now,
Yes.
all kinds of stuff. And there's actually a really hilarious little thing. Like I mentioned, there are 6 Thunderbirds now. In
Yes,
the
there
new
is.
series, there is this beautiful piece of equipment called Thunderbirds Shadow. It is piloted by the unofficial female member of the team. Is it
Kayo.
Kayo? Kayo? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. And they actually renamed her from Tintin in the original series because, there's a certain news reporter that has that trademark. So they renamed her from Tintin to Kayo. And Kayo is piloting this piece of equipment called the Thunderbird Shadow. This is interesting because the Thunderbird Shadow is created by, as Veet said, sorry, that's your WoW title, as he said, it went big in Japan. And
Yeah, it looks like a
one of the
Robotech.
fans- that's just where I'm going. One of the fans was Shoji Kawamori, who is best known for creating the Macross franchise. And that dude's all like, I am totally going to design something for this show. And he created Thunderbird Shadow. It's his design, which is why it looks like something out of Robotech.
Yeah,
or
Robotech,
for the rest
Macross.
of you. Yeah, and it is just gorgeous. It is an amazingly beautiful plane, and that guy has a background in airplane engineering. I mean, that's how he grew up, and he was like, "I'll make Macross." Um, Also, he made one of my favorite animes, which was The Vision of Escaflowne, and it's like dream realized. He gets to make a Thunderbird vehicle. I mean, how awesome is that? If you're like this huge fan. You've spent your life growing up watching this show, or this is one of the things that like really just sparked your fire to do whatever it is that you're going to do, and you get to make something for it. That's awesome, and it shows. Thunderbird Shadow is just gorgeous. It is amazing looking.
So
It's completely. It's. I was just going to say the one thing about it though is like aesthetically, it has no relation whatsoever to the rest of the show.
well,
It's awesome looking, though.
it's part of this covert story. So this underlying story that involves the Hood. He's the bad guy. He's also the uncle, KO.
Well, he was in the original series as well. It was
Right.
revealed that he was
Right.
Tintin's uncle.
So that's where I think they're attempting to create depth to this series, to having this underlying story go from episode to episode, but it doesn't quite do it.
Did I mention that the cockpit of the Shadow is actually a motorcycle that can deploy from the bottom of the vehicle?
Yeah, that's why it reminded me of
That's awesome.
Robotech.
Yeah, that is pretty stunning. And look, visually, graphically, the new reboot is spectacular. I love it. I really do. It really does look like when you see the distant shot of Thunderbird 1 or Thunderbird 5 taking off into space, it looks like modern footage that you would see a rocket taking off into space. Actual live footage of a rocket taking off, going off into space.
It's just a gorgeous show. Like I really would like to see it. I'm a total fanboy for Weta. The stuff they do is fantastic, and a lot of that actually also is behind the scenes fandom, where it's like Peter Jackson really just doesn't want to leave New Zealand, so he's bringing the film industry to him as opposed to going to them, which is just like slow clap awesomeness, And I would love to see this show. but yes, the things that you've been saying are things that I was noticing as I was looking into it, which is there's definitely like a very heavy kids marketing push for this thing,
Yes, absolutely.
and that's disappointing in some ways. Not that I'm against it. I mean, there's a point where I don't like, for example, the Shrek style of humor where it's like, let's make a story for the kids, but then we'll fill it full of things that's like just dirty adult humor,
Yeah,
that only they would
innuendo
understand.
right.
Right. And I'm glad it doesn't try to do that. But I also feel very strongly, and I've believed this my entire life as somebody who grew up on Future Topics, Terminator, and other, aliens and all kind of stuff, where I understood what was going on, even as like a small child. Like I'm 4 or 5 years old. I get it. I
Right.
know.
Exactly.
And, and it's, I believe you can have, very high concept, high level, challenging entertainment that kids will enjoy if
Right.
you just push it. And damn it all, this new Thunderbirds series, Thunderbirds Are Go, it has the aesthetic to appeal to anyone under the age of 12. Just give us storylines.
Yeah, agreed.
Yep.
Yep.
It reminds me of.
Go on.
It reminds me of the Avengers animated series. How there's two of them.
Yeah.
Like the first one was
so-
actually like pretty good and had complex storylines, and then they remade it again instead of making a second or a third season. They remade it, and now it's just kiddie children stuff. I was like, it was watchable for anybody before, and now it's just for children. It's like they repeat the same format, you just watch them do shenanigans every week. Like a lot of it doesn't tie together, whereas before it was a continuing storyline with like character growth and dynamics.
Yeah, that's always sad to lose those things. I mean, one of the most amazingly well-written television shows I ever watched as a kid was the Ghostbusters cartoon show, and I have all of that on DVD.
They freaking fought Cthulhu.
They did. They totally fought Cthulhu, and there's unbelievably complex storylines presented in some of these episodes. I mean, very complex, especially if you know who the writer was. I mean, the main writer was J. Michael Straczynski, who I have just a nerd fanboy thing going on for him. Like, I actually saw him at Comic-Con one time. I just got on my hands and knees and bowed to him, and he put his hand out and said, "It will be okay."
That's not weird at all.
It's not weird at all. It's J. Michael Straczynski. Of course you would do that. But he's just this amazing guy, and it shows even in that cartoon series. It is incredible. And then he would go on to write Babylon 5, which is the greatest thing in the world. And if you don't watch Babylon 5, fix yourself. I mean, it hurts. The budget is so low that it hurts, but get through it. Fix your life. Watch Babylon 5.
I think it's interesting that Thunderbirds as a series existed in such a unique time period, and then it's back. Like, I love that can happen. Like, I know in Hollywood that's problematic where they just make remakes, but I've noticed that for TV shows, for the most part, it's really good when they come back, because a lot of times the people who want to bring them back actually care about them, and that's why they want them to be around.
Yes. Yep.
Like when the Ninja Turtles franchise, which we will talk about eventually, like when it was sold to Nickelodeon, they could have just like schlocked it up and made crap, but I enjoy it more than I ever enjoyed the original animated series, because it doesn't rely on the tropes that were okay to give to children. Like, oh, this person gets kidnapped, go save them. All right, next episode, this person gets kidnapped, go save them. Like, it doesn't rely on that. Like, it allows the characters to actually be characters. Like, I love that. I love that we can see old series, like, evolve and grow and become, like, way better than, at least in my opinion, from what I've seen from series that have been restarted, like, way better than what I thought was good. Like, what I thought was good, I'm like, that was terrible. This new stuff is fantastic.
And sometimes you have Ghostbusters Extreme and you cry.
Oh god. Or you have what was it? Looney Tunes Unlimited. Jesus, God help us all.
You know, I think the reboot, where it lacks is they're not developing the characters.
Which is a thing that can happen.
They're not telling their stories, so there's no depth. I've just been sitting here thinking, what CGI animated program have I watched recently that I've really enjoyed? And I think it's probably one of the best in terms of capturing a young audience as well as entertaining a mature audience, and that was Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
Oh my lord! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh, you just triggered my nerd.
Okay,
sorry.
I don't know whether you agree with me or disagree with me.
No, it's so good.
It did
like
both.
It's so
It
good.
is. And they did it in a 30-minute episode. They told a story. There was usually some pow, somebody firing at somebody swinging a lightsaber at somebody.
Look,
but in that, they were developing character.
Okay, there's situations in that show. That show is a show for children. It is a show for children. There are situations in that disturbed me as an adult and made me think I would never ever let a child see this happen. So
I would totally expose them to that crap. Life is real. Get over it.
But
So
like,
what type of situations are you talking about?
Huh?
What type of situations are you talking about?
So there is one of the antagonists is a Sith, and she is basically the theme that she has is that she's basically like a Black Widow spider, pretty much, and she is so meticulously violent that it's disturbing. The scene that I always use in this example is there's a scene where she's killing stormtroopers, and this is one of those shows where they don't show blood, but they actually let the actions happen without the viscera. So she stabs the last stormtrooper alive through the gut, pins him to a wall. His helmet, she pulls his helmet off, and as he's taking his last breath, she kisses him and sucks it out of his lungs. That is morbid.
Yes. And realistically, the Clone Wars was made for a younger, older child, a 12 to 16-year-old. And I think this is where Thunderbirds doesn't have that, because it's going for more like a 6 to 12-year-old market. So it can't do that depth or that degree of story, but they could do more. They could be doing more to develop the depth of this. But I still watch it. I put it on. 30 minutes flies by. I reminisce. I count in the launch sequence of each aircraft that comes up. I dun da 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 to the music. I have a blast. So it's all good.
Yeah, and ultimately that's what counts. I mean, you can always wish for more. I mean, it just comes as a territory with a lot of this stuff. Ultimately, you're not the creator, right? You got to accept it, and if you don't accept it, your two options are to watch under protest, which is always awkward. I did that for quite a while with the Heroes series until I just finally gave up, which is very strange for me. Usually I don't give up with a series, or to just not watch it at all, which is eventually where I got to with the Heroes series. And either way, you don't. In a weird way, you're not winning. Right. I mean, because there's no contest to be had. They produce it, either you watch it or not. It goes weird ways. Or like a movie, for example, if a movie's made. I can't remember which movie it was that upset me that it was made, but my brother actually responded to me and he said, "You don't have to watch it." And I said, "That's true, but they could have spent their time making something else."
Yep, absolutely. And to be honest, if I didn't have history behind me, and this was like a brand new series from the get-go, I don't know if I'd be watching it. I don't know if I probably would have stopped and watched a couple episodes, said, yeah, the graphics and the CGI and the models are all great, but it probably wouldn't have kept me coming back week to week if I didn't have this background. But I am and will always be a Thunderbirds fan.
Yeah, that's what counts. So,
That's all I got. Yep.
I was gonna say, James.
Yep.
we
It
need
sounds
to,
like we're winding down that section of the show. So, is there anything else that we want to talk about? Any last minute interesting things?
No, I think I've pretty much covered it for me. It's
Cool.
been a part of my life since about 8 years of age, and I'm glad it came back. I really am.
Yeah, it's always good when you get to celebrate something like that you connected to when you were younger. All right, so now let's give out some information on where people can reach us, where we'll be. I think we have a Facebook now. I think that is something that's working, hopefully.
It is.
All right, let me see if I can bring it up to make sure.
It's up. I'm on it.
Cool, and there's a picture too. So we're on Facebook, facebook.com/in1sken, all one word, INONESKEN. I know it's a crazy sounding name, but I promise it means something, and there's a double entendre, so get wrecked. If you want to message us on there, you can. We are on Gmail, in1sken@gmail.com.
All one word.
So give us some feedback. Whatever you think is good, you think it's bad, let us know. Let us know what we can fix. Let us know if there's a subject you'd like to hear, because between the four of us, we probably have a hold on pretty much anything you could hope for in pop culture. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it will run the gamut. Also, if you have questions about previous topics, possibly we can answer that. That would be cool too.
Yep, and I'm going to look to getting the show notes up on the Facebook page. I think that'd be good. So
Great
that
place for it.
so you can find all the information you need for Thunderbirds. And I think it was good. Did you guys have fun? I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and we're on Twitter too. It's the same as our Facebook.
In one skin, that Twitter. Yeah, we're on everything. I haven't got that all figured out yet. I promise. I will pitch us better next time.
Notes, James. It's
Well,
on the show
I know.
notes.
I'm trying to look at it.
It's friendster.com.
Oh, it's all the way at the bottom. Okay.
One day we'll look back on this
Twitter.com/in1skin.
and we'll realize how noob we were during
Yes,
this
we
initial
will.
podcast.
We
We'll be
will.
like, God, that's terrible. How did
Bear-
they let those four people do this?
Bear with us, folks. We will improve.
We get shut down by the RIAA. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned about something you didn't know about. And if it leads you to something you end up loving, then that was our purpose. To share something we love and to share that love with others. Have a wonderful weekend. And you will be listening to this on Monday.
Although technically when they list it, it won't be the weekend anymore.
Yep. I guess. I
But if
hope
you're
everyone.
listening to
I
this
hope
on
everyone had a
Friday.
wonderful weekend. All right,
Yeah,
guys. Bye. Say goodbye. Goodbye.
If baby.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thunderbirds are go.